There's no more King Herod. He's long gone. But the idea that he represents of antagonism is still there. There are people today that are opposed to Christmas. Often you can pick up a newspaper this time of year or read something on the internet or watch something on TV about how there are debates. Should we call it a Christmas tree or a holiday tree? Should we call it a Christmas break or a winter break? Should we sing Silent Night as part of the local school program, or should we just simply have the type of songs included that are Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? These type of things, when it comes to Christmas, raise up people who are antagonists that don't want anything mentioned regarding Christmas to be out in the public. Why? Because of Jesus. And there are some religions of the world that do not believe in the divinity of Christ. And so when it comes to Christmas, they want to smash and eliminate anything opposed to Christmas. And there are some nations of the world that are atheistic nations, or some Islamic nations that do not believe in the deity of Christ. And so in some countries of the world, the leaders of those nations want to stomp out or remove anything, any semblance of Christmas, because they are opposed to the Jesus of Christmas. Now, if you're watching today and you are somebody that is opposed to Christmas for some reason, because of some differences of opinion that you have regarding Jesus or regarding the Bible, I want to put you in a quandrous spot today. And just to ask you, will you please consider Christmas this year, the real meaning of Christmas? Jesus does not come to intentionally be a threat to you or to oppose you. He comes to offer you good news. He comes to offer you peace. He comes to offer you forgiveness. And to that, he asks you to be willing to have an open mind, to have an open heart, and to consider the real meaning of Christmas. So today, if you are somebody that is opposed to Christmas, be open to the real meaning, to the real Jesus of Christmas this year, and let him change your life like perhaps you never thought was possible. The next people in the Christmas story is people that are passive, the sort of the quandrous passivity type of folks. This is represented in the religious people. In this part of the story, this group of wise men come to town. They come to Herod and say, "We've come because we've seen a star. We've come, and this is a prophecy that we read about this star and this king of the Jews that was born." Herod didn't have the deep knowledge of the religious history of the Jews because he was a Roman. He was a non-Jew. So what he did is he went and summoned the Jewish leaders of the day, the religious leaders, and said, this group of people from the east have come. This is what they've said. What does all this mean? Research your books and tell me what all this means. And so they went to their books and they thumbed through all these pages and found that these people are right. 700 years before this incident happened, there was recorded a scripture. There was recorded a prophecy by a man named Isaiah that prophesied that one day there would be this baby that would be born in miraculous fashion, and he would be considered the king of the Jews. And so they went and they reported this to Herod, and Herod had this information. But what is really fascinating about this part of the story is this prophecy was hugely important to the Jewish people, especially the Jewish leaders, the Jewish religious leaders that knew a lot about this stuff. But yet they just sort of, here you go, Herod, here's your information that you want. They sort of shrugged their shoulders, turned around, and went back home. But the interesting thing, additional interesting part of this, is that Jerusalem and Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, was just a matter of a few miles away. And I asked myself as I was reading this story and preparing for this program, why didn't these Jewish leaders and the Jewish people walk? Why didn't they get on their camels or their donkeys or just walk the few miles to Bethlehem to see the fulfillment of this prophecy? They were passive. Yeah, they may have been passive because they were nervous about what Herod might do to them if they did. But they also may have been passive because they had their own lives. They had things that were going on. Other things may have been more important. They just sort of shrugged their shoulders and went about their daily business. I just asked myself, why didn't they go? Because this was such an important prophecy for them. But you know what? This type of passivity continues even today. And actually, I resemble somewhat of this. My dad was a pastor. When I was 3 years old, my dad had a life-changing experience where he encountered God, and our whole home, my 3 brothers and sisters, our whole home life changed. And all of a sudden, we became a strong Christian family. And from that day forward, from 3 years old onward, Christmas was so important in our home. But for me, I was more interested in the Christmas gifts. I was more interested in, the Christmas TV programs, the Christmas songs, and the tree, and all the trappings of Christmas. To me, the real meaning of Christmas, Jesus, just didn't quite strike home. And I was religious. I had a form of religion on the outside, but it was sort of the shrug of the shoulders to me. So in some way, I resembled a lot of these type of folks that I was reading. You know what? There's a lot of us out there that may have a form of religion, and we enjoy the story of Jesus. We may even say we believe in Jesus, but we also really love the reindeer and Santa Claus and the Christmas lights and the parties and all the things that go with it. There's a scripture that says, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. That's what these religious leaders had. That's what I had early on in my life, was a form of religion, but there was really nothing there. I want to visit with you today if you happen to be a passive type of person when it comes to Christmas. You may, like I said, you may believe in the Jesus of the Bible. You may actually enjoy going to Christmas Eve service and maybe taking communion with your family on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Maybe getting a whole seat and filling it up with your brothers and your sisters, your mom and dad, grandchildren, aunts and uncles, and it's a tradition for you. But when it comes to the Jesus of Christmas, there's just something missing there. I want to create a Christmas quandary for you today. And it is challenge you and ask you, will you go deeper than what you've ever done before for Christmas? Will you go beyond the passive and do something more for Christmas? Go beyond the trappings and make Christmas real for you today by experiencing for the first time, like you never have before, the Jesus of Christmas.